Yeah, that's about right. The Upturned is a platforming comedy horror game made by the same stoat who brought you Lethal Company, which, if you've played Lethal Company, should tell you quite a lot about this game's sense of humor. In this game, you play not as a tragic protagonist being chased by the physical manifestation of Burger King cooking, but as the living embodiment of the word oopsie daisies, and face such threats as a man in his pajamas, a dog, janky physics props, and a dog who eats janky physics props. Just from the footage, you can probably tell that this game is not afraid to abscond with the urine, but despite this, The Upturned is still, indeed, a horror game with plenty of moments to make you go, "Welp, I hate that." In fact, I'm about to blow your mind, or at the very least make you go, "What?" Because The Upturned is the best example of cosmic horror out of any game I've played on this channel. And yes, that includes Still Wakes the Deep, aka the cosmic horror game that won every award for everything ever. But that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves, as this game's story is rather loaded towards the rear, so instead, I'm going to take you on a tour of the entire game, floor by floor, and show you all the goofy, terrifying, and terrifyingly goofy moments this game has to offer. So let's go ahead and get things rolling, because I am legitimately so excited to show you, to be frank, all the amazing bullshit, along with some of the most haunting storytelling I've experienced in a long time. And yes, that haunting storytelling does feature every single human being on Earth learning to pilot a helicopter. So with no further delay, I welcome you all to the Upturned Inn. So if you were doubting the ha-ha funny nature of this game, the jokes start immediately, as in upon entering your damn name. Fortunately for me, this turned into Chi-Yi, which is more or less what people like to call me, so checkmate, dickbait. I win, you lose. That's what you get for messing with Koopa the Quick. But after being told we love our new name, we arrive at the scene via train, and god damn it, you know the rules. The gauge is a bit wide, I guess. Moving on, we navigate our way through a dark forest, and immediately we notice how our main character is animated in a way that I can only describe as how one of those tiny beach crabs would try to pilot a human body. It's all linear, sure, but it's a fantastic way to establish setting. Compare this to the majority of mascot horror, where you just get dropped in the building and off you go! This walk works to build up our environment and acts as a nice contrast between nature and the human-made hotel. And speaking of, walking up to the fabled hotel, we immediately learn two things. Bros got hops, and this world runs on Looney Tunes physics. We then meet the inn's owner, Ick, a 15-foot, permanently smiling monster in a fancy suit who... He gives us a warm greeting and is genuinely excited to see us, informing us that we are dead and thus have a room in this hotel. Room 1434. No, I'm sorry, your room is on floor 1434. Now, if you think this is an opportunity to show off those calves, I'll have you know that the Upturned Inn has more OSHA violations than the Byra D while it was exploding. And no, I'm not going to make a how many OSHA violations does the Upturned Inn commit video, because the answer would just be, I don't think OSHA has regulations for the handling of magnets so powerful they attract even non-magnetic objects. Yes, that is legit the explanation the game gives us. So instead, Ick tells us to go ahead and take the elevator. And if you thirsty bitches are worried that this is the last we'll see of him, don't worry, because our adorable little security blanket keeps in constant contact with us via our phone and the hotel's PA system. But let's get moving and board our chariot, which absolutely does not crash like it does in every other horror game. And I actually mean that. Through the entirety of this game, the elevator does not crash. It blows a fuse and turns sideways somehow, but it does not crash. In fairness to the elevator, the blown fuse is due to a storm that has started to rage outside, which makes me wonder why the afterlife would have weather in the first place. But Ick seems just as confused as I am, because he states, and coincidentally, at the same time, I looked through the front windows and saw another small strike of lightning. I haven't seen a storm since, well, I'm sure it's not important. The fuse, meanwhile, just happens to break on floor 13, a number that isn't associated with anything else on this floor. I'm also certain that this ladder we walk under, the spilled salt that Ick notices, nor the mirrors that all break as we leave hold any kind of meaning or foreshadowing for the rest of the game or its themes. Also of note is how all the doors to the guest rooms are completely sealed, and this holds true for almost every guest room we encounter. I'm sure it's not important, but with a new fuse in hand, we return to the uppy downy machine, slap that bad boy in, and ta-da! Welcome to the core gameplay loop. Every Every floor, or level, if you will, involves the elevator breaking down, exploring the floor, and encountering some wacky antics, grabbing the fuse, and going back. What's so fun about this system is that every floor's contents is a surprise that ranges between Looney Tunes antics to the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen wear a party hat. But after waking up from the funniest concussion in history, we reach floor 37, which teaches us two things. One, there aren't actually hundreds of levels in this game, and two, jank is an intended mechanic. One of the core features of the Upturned is stacking objects and climbing on them, so it may come as a surprise that this game does not have a drop object button. No, because this game is the living embodiment of a panic attack, the best we get is aim at the feet and throw it at the ground. To speak on the platforming itself, it's a little odd. Your jump is mostly vertical with very little horizontal clearance, and there's no variation to the jump either, whether you hold the button down or just tap it. Hot Foot Hat Man just leaps into the air like a cartoon character walking on hot coal. Combine this with the incredibly short airtime, legit, I think this guy might have the shortest airtime of any platforming protagonist. This makes the platforming pretty easy to get the hang of. I know it's strange, but I don't really have any other way to describe it than it feels jank, but it actually isn't. Anyway, after navigating this power plant filled with explosive barrels, the next floor introduces us to more mechanics, such as keys and switches, the latter of which we activate not with our hands, but with slapstick violence. And on the theme of violence, here's our first enemy, who I'm going to call Lawrence, because that's just what his name is. In fact, every enemy in this game has a name. And no, I don't mean that all of those knife-leg jumping beans are named Lawrence. I mean that every single enemy in this game is given a real-ass name that you can see while you're being violently assaulted by them. That's a fun little detail, one that
it's probably not important.
This also allows us to talk about the combat, and even while up against just one enemy, you can probably already guess at how things are going to evolve, because what we have here is not a delicate game of back and forth, looking for an opening and dealing with consequences, but something more like... Even compared to other games that throw lots of jumpy enemies at you in an enclosed space, the fast-paced nature of how everything moves and the overabundance of physics objects really captures that panic feeling of grab whatever you can reach and just start throwing shit. I mean, that's what I'd do if something like this broke into my house. Now, this style of chair-to-face no jutsu is a bit of a detriment to the horror. In most horror games with combat, conflict has some kind of build-up. Something happens to make you aware that, yep, there be monsters here. The Upturned, though, takes the approach of spontaneity. So instead of the, oh god, please don't see me, nope, here we go, we just get, well, guess we're dealing with whatever the hell this is now. Hell, even the enemies that aren't jump scares still use this 0 to 100 method of start panicking, boyo, from the Raven eggs to the enemies in jars, or even just stacking physics props incorrectly is so perfectly crafted to capture that goddammit feeling. But weirdly, this all-or-nothing combat turns around and makes its own horror in a kind of roundabout way. And it's all thanks to the fact that you have a health bar! Now, I've gone on about these in the past, quite a lot in fact, so the short version of what usually takes me several minutes to explain is, when number is low, game is more scary. And because most threats just pop out of nowhere, being on low health means you are always at least a little tense, as the next room is just as likely to be empty as it is to be filled with monsters who just want a piece of that ash. Granted, it's definitely not the scariest way you can implement monsters. I mean, you literally get a Looney Tunes sound effect whenever you knock one out. And I definitely still prefer the good old, there's a monster creeping around but you don't know where approach. But this still does an okay job of it, and would you look at that, it has a call for us.
Mr. E, have you found the power plug on this floor yet? Well, it's just that something is approaching your destination rapidly. It's not using the elevator, it's coming from above you. It's gone straight down through 5 floors since we started talking. Don't worry, sir, take your time, but also I'd advise you to hurry, as if your life depended on it. For fun.
Nah, that's weird. Anyway, after wording like our life depends on it, for fun, we reach the elevator and get a grade that does not matter. I mean that, these are literally just a joke, and Ick has some more interesting news for us.
That storm is really piping up outside. Just imagine if this hotel weren't here for the both of us. I'm also glad to have someone to talk to. Not one soul has stumbled upon the Upturned Inn since you arrived.
That's a little concerning, but before we can really think about that, Ick gives us some crow facts.
Here's another crow fact. Crows are weak alone, but dangerous in swarms. How I obtained this information, you also may never know.
It's almost like the game is trying to distract us from what's going on outside. On to floor 133, we see the Upturned Public Library, a rare diegetic jump scare.
Very sorry about that, sir. Just testing the PA system.
And proof that this game can actually do creepy. I also want to talk about another really fun aspect of this game's combat. Because your approach to every fight is gomu gomu no throw everything around you, every fight can take a neat and orderly room and reduce it to a pile of furniture and bodies. Just backtracking through rooms paints a fun picture of every conflict on that floor. A sort of memento of, hey, remember when we trapped you in a room with a bunch of coked up beef jerky monsters? That was fun. Next floor, we have a bit of flooding that slows our movement to an absolute crawl and a bunch of furniture we can jump across. And if you listen close, you can now hear every single person who's ever played Amnesia shouting, oh god, not again. I do want to give props to some good game design here, as this is actually the second time we've had to place a bridge of objects to cross an obstacle. However, compared to the first time, which was relatively low pressure, this time we're being chased by an extremely dangerous slug named Patricia. Now, Patricia does differ from the water monster, just enough to make this situation fresh. For one, Patricia can actually knock over the objects you've placed in the water if you anger her too much, yanking that bit of precious safety out from under your feet and just making the situation worse, which was already pretty bad, so good luck, Chucklehead. But it wouldn't be a real horror game if it didn't do something to shake up the formula halfway through. And no, I'm not just talking about the Revenge of Pajama Sam to make things worse, I'm talking about...
Would you like to hear some tunes which I have made myself? Yes, sir, you're the best. I'll play it over the intercom so you can hear all the bass.
On the next floor, we reach an abandoned mall, or, to avoid tautology, the average American mall. This level is definitely one of the weaker ones, as aside from some fun visual jokes and this one store with several arcade cabinets, most of this level is just finding a switch, opening up a new store, finding the switch in that store, rinse and repeat, all while constantly eyeing these mannequins that I swear are going to move at any second now, I swear to God! At the very least, the stores do have funny stuff in them, especially this one that has, hey, what do you know, Cheese Yeen merch! Yep, we're still selling them. My good friend and her wonderful dog Simba have been hard at work and are working on mugs now too. Really capture the look of caffeinated bliss with my wonderful expression here. And the shirts are super comfy and, even better, made entirely independently. No big corporation here, just shirts bought locally and printed by her. So why not stop by her Etsy shop and take a look? I've even given you a nifty link in the description, so why not start your morning with a hot cup of me? But back to the game, we keep crawling around the mall and get an update on the storm.
I really just called you because I was ever so slightly afraid. It's never been so empty in the lobby. It almost sounds like the storm I was under when I died. Man, I shouldn't have brought that up. Let me think.
Fortunately, we don't have to wait long, because after solving this door flip puzzle...
Okay, I'll tell you how I died, but first, you have to tell me what happened to you. What do you mean? Did you get sick, fell off a cliff, got stabbed, took a bullet, became alligator poop, or you don't want to say? We have to get to the bottom of this, sir. I won't rest until we know what killed you. And then I still won't rest because we can't sleep here in the afterlife.
Anyway, we continue in this level where nothing bad happens, grab the fuse, and then everything bad happens. Yes, these mannequins are not weeping angels. Instead, they are just so much worse because I hate everything about them, but in that confusing Cheese Yeen way that means I love everything about their design. They're really just creepy and God, I hate them. Please give me more. The next level is largely platforming based with rising and lowering water. In fact, pretty much nothing scary happens in this level. Oh sure, it throws a few chompy boys in our face, but fortunately for us, chompy boys don't know how to use springs. So while I work through this level, let's talk about something else, the music. It's different, but pretty fitting. It's not exactly music I'd listen to in my free time, but it definitely fits the feel of the game. In general, the music was always interesting enough to be noticeable, but never so much that it was distracting. And I can't say that for every game I've played. In fact, I'd go so far to say that the majority of horror games, even the ones I like, don't have the best soundtracks. Oh sure, they have great atmospheric tracks, but I feel like horror games are almost afraid to have more melodic pieces in them. These can be great additions to a more cinematic moment, and in fact, I was going to illustrate this point by putting this track over Poppy's The Hour of Joy reveal from Chapter 3, but putting Silent Hill 2's music over Poppy fucking Playtime made me physically ill, so you're just gonna have to imagine it, I guess. And sure, the Upturned has its atmospheric tracks as well, and they work great. but it's not afraid to use melodic tracks either. Yeah, they're weird and make me feel like I've got a manic depressive spider scurrying around in my skull, but that's kind of the vibe of the whole game, so it fits. But back to the game, Ick phones us to say he's found a database of all of history, and I mean all of history. The Big Bang, the dinosaurs, and that one time you pretended to like your friend's cooking but secretly went out and got fast food afterwards. It's all in there. But he doesn't have access to it right now, so we'll have to come back to that later. On to floor 195, we get 2 new mechanics. Metal detectors, though not the ones you're thinking of. Rather, these will only allow objects made of metal to pass through, as well as ash, which is what we're made of, as well as those previously mentioned magnets that alter physics themselves to attract literally everything around them, and they also might be sapient. I really cannot describe how weirdly satisfying this is, but this all serves for some fun puzzling and or chaos, and really it's just good vibes all around right now. And hey, we're even getting a call from our buddy Ick.
I'll admit it, I don't know what to do, Mr. Yi. Something from outside smashed through the windows of the lobby. Through my beautiful windows. Oh my, sorry sir, I'm gonna have to put you on.
Ick? We return to the elevator and there's no Ick. And boy, is his absence felt on this level. It's a maze with weird geometry, mannequins doing creepy mannequin things, and you just know they're gonna come alive. It's genuinely unsettling. And I was worried about what had happened to our friend. Hell, even when you grab the fuse and you're trying to find your way back as mannequins are literally busting through the walls to get to you, there's no funny quip from that licorice lollipop to break the tension or lampshade the situation. You just run and run till you're in the elevator and boom, level done. Next level, the doors open and there's no Ick. And again, the tone becomes... well, not dark, but definitely different, and in a really subtle way that just makes things feel worse. Up until now, all the danger presented by the building itself has felt accidental. The death pits or explosive barrels were a result of comical architecture or wacky misunderstandings. But this floor, things are different. There are several deliberate traps that are made to kill. Tripwires, fire cannons, and a room that literally tells us, hint, it's a trap. This floor, unlike every other floor we've been on, takes this in and turns it into a hostel. And that's appropriate, because we get another call. I think it's safe to say that we have our antagonist, but the hell was that for an introduction? I mean, compare that to the long-winded monologues of Poppy or Bendy where they're like, ooh, aren't I so intimidating? Don't you just want to know where I fit into the lore? This guy's intro, by comparison, is just...
Yo mama dead.
Seriously, I didn't skip any of his dialogue. This guy gets 4 lines, 2 of which are just hello, hello, and then he pieces out. And the best part is just getting the call itself is kind of scary. We want to know what happened to Ick, and thus far, he's been the only one to call us. So to pick up the phone and hear a different voice, that alone makes you anxious. But on to the next.
I'm back!
My baby boy!
Turns out, the thing that spooked him so bad was a carrier pigeon from hell, which raises a whole bunch more questions about the afterlife that won't get answered. But more importantly, that demon carrier pigeon has a box containing the history of literally everything. Unfortunately, it's covered in slime, so Ick needs to find a pair of tongs to open the box first. I mean, yeah, come on, that's fair. I ain't touching that. In the meantime, we're free to explore the art gallery. On display are a mix of abstract, still life, and portraits. It's all pretty nice, though I'm more of a West Square Tana guy myself. But now, I need you all to prepare yourselves for something shocking, because I think we may have a world first on our hands. These art pieces, in this horror game, for the first time ever, do not have any kind of symbolism, hidden meaning, or code in them. I mean, unless plantain defying gravity is a metaphor for ignoring social norms, the art in this gallery is literally just art. There is no meaning, no greater purpose, there just happens to be an art gallery here, and hey, wait a minute. Yeah, if we looked at this hidden conversation from Ick...
I didn't make any of these paintings. I may be a genius composer, but not an artist. I found these paintings out in the woods long before I built the Upturned Inn. I was just sneaking through some muddy woods I'd never been in before, and then I stepped on a colorful portrait.
We learned that he literally found all of these paintings randomly in a sort of impromptu outdoor freestyle gallery, which immediately explains so many of the abstract pieces. Fun fact, did you know that the reason why so many modern art pieces go for millions of dollars is because they're actually a front for money laundering? To this day, Ich doesn't know who was making the paintings or what they were being made with, and that's the end of the story. This really never comes up again, nor does it really matter to the plot. And to quote Mr. Hippo,
not every story has to have significance, you know? Sometimes, I said, a story is just a story. So just be quiet for 1 second of your life and eat your sandwich, okay?
And yes, I'm aware of the irony of using FNAF of all things to point this out, but the idea that sometimes a story is just a story perfectly fits with the themes the Upturned has been building so far. Sometimes life is chaotic, and sometimes you just happen to stumble upon something pleasant. Of course, one of the other themes of the Upturned is and sure enough, when we get this key on the next floor, we find ourselves in the calmest asylum in all of video games. It's mostly just a quiet walk through some spooky halls, as we're constantly warned to not let the dog out, so yes, we do exactly that. This here is Shrimp, and while you may be tempted to call him Best Boy, and please do, because he is, the way he's introduced still gives him a subtle creepiness about him. A lack of facial expression, the featureless eyes, and Ick's reaction to us freeing Shrimp.
Well, as long as you didn't release Shrimp from his containment, everything should be fine.
God, I love him. Don't anybody hurt my baby boy, I swear to fuck. So yeah, this is gonna be a problem later. Speaking of Ick, he has an update for us. The storm is getting worse, but he managed to open the box and now has a pile of documents hot off the presses.
The paper is glowing, and when I tried to touch it, it burnt me. I had to hold my hand under the sink.
The next floor continues with the theme of the Upturned Inn becoming hostile, with C4 traps and giant fans placed in ways to deliberately block our progress, but in a clever twist, we get our own crazy-powered fans, so moving on, we meet Shrimp again. Aw. But before we can pet Best Boyo, we fall into the inevitable sewer level. The sewers are a completely dark maze we have to navigate through, but fortunately, we're being given directions. Unfortunately, and here's where things get weird, because he's not leading us into a trap or forcing us to wander in circles. He is legitimately leading us out of the sewers. He's not friendly about it, constantly calling us cockroach and even asking if we're the ones who brought the storm with us. Oh, and one last little nugget. And the best part is, you kind of believe him, mostly because both him and Ick are hard to get a real read on. Senor Garglethroat clearly does not like us, and yet it does seem that he wants us to get to our room. This is where we start to feel like there's something bigger at play here. We're just not sure what yet. Anyway, after nearly dying to this giant slug,
Sir, I think it's time to discuss our friendship.
we get to the elevator where Ick has more news for us.
I cooled down the secret documents. I can read them now. The first few pages here explain the Big Bang. Mr. Yi, your cause of death is surely described within these pages, but it's going to take some reading.
But moving on, we get to a Wild West floor. A floor that makes me want to play more Satisfactory. And an aquarium.
That there, it's Ballin the whale. He loves visitors, especially when they purchase from our gift shop. He is actually alive, trust me.
The variety of theming is nice, but these levels actually serve a second purpose. They all do very well to show how empty this hotel feels. Even in these spaces clearly meant for crowds, you never encounter any real people, just lots of abandoned buildings and empty exhibits. Except for the monsters, but they seem a bit too preoccupied to enjoy the view. The next level is a huge search for the code deal, and it's also where the game decides, how about we just make this floor incredibly stressful? As a joke, every bit of the code you find adds a bit more danger and new enemies, and with this being such a long floor, you really learn to start paying attention. And of course, things don't get better when you actually solve the code and grab the key you need. You know, things were pretty neat and tidy before we got here. Starting to wonder if the problem is us.
I've read more of the historic document. You won't believe what happened after 2020. After the pandemic, all nations came together to achieve world peace. They then solved world hunger, and it's only 2026.
The next floor is the glass pane factory, which is actually one of the more difficult levels in the game in my opinion. It's set up in a way so there are things constantly harassing us. Swarms of birds in narrow hallways, giant hands over moving platforms, and more of those indestructible mannequins. And of course things don't get better when we find the fuse. Lights go out, great. Sure can't wait to fight these pitch black enemies and invincible mannequins in the dark. Sounds like a Six Flags time to me. You know what? This is actually worse. The next floor is called Fun and Games, which...
Fuck that. Just kidding.
The mall has 10 two-player cabinets and one one-player machine for a total capacity of 21, while the arcade has 24 two-player cabinets and 3 one-player machines for a total of 51 and a grand total of 72. Unfortunately, I have no idea what their operating hours are, nor do I ever hear any mention of money in this place, so that's the end of the analysis. Okay, bye. But this floor is actually a lot of fun. For one, take a look at these laser guns. I have no idea why, but that's just funny to me. And 2, it's legitimately a well-built level. I mean, any level with a functioning bouncy house in it gets an automatic A in my book. And more importantly, we can be ballin'. But more importantly, as we pass the most dangerous and yet coolest bumper cars in the world,
This document says that in the year 2035, we learned how to augment our bodies to breathe underwater and withstand high pressures and cold. The history of the human race just keeps getting better. But sir, how could you have died in the middle of that utopia? Never mind, I'll find out soon.
wow, sure is nice that the world is completely coming together with absolutely nothing going wrong. I mean, for us, things are going wrong, very wrong. But this level is also a great example of how fantastic the tension pacing is in this game. Every floor starts off relatively calm, but then they do a great job of quickly showing you the main, well, that's gonna be a fucking howdy-do of the level, giving you time to not only learn how to deal with that problem, but to make you start dreading the moment where you just know it's gonna get worse. I mean, let's take a look at that factory level I skipped over. We immediately realize that we're going to be dealing with conveyor belt platforming, dodging fire on conveyor belts, and then oops, looks like we have to do all that again in the dark, and now enemies are chasing us. How grand! And then there's the relief of seeing the elevator at the end of the hall. I cannot describe how much of a desperate relief it is when you turn that corner, all kinds of little gribblies on your tail, and you see that red light. It's like that feeling of playing tag and shouting, safe, at the last second. But then the doors open again, you see the howdy-doody problem, and the cycle starts anew. It's a simple formula, but an effective one. And the game of course builds on the mechanics of prior levels to... Waking up, we survive our not crash, just the elevator falling down several miles, which according to Ick is actually a good thing because...
Yes, it is great, sir, because... Jig's up, isn't it? I guess I have to tell you. The upturned in goes down, not up. Sir, don't pull my leg. Of course you've noticed how my hotel has no windows to the outside. And surely you'd be able to hear the storm out there. It's getting louder than anything else. But it's hollow up there. There's no rooms above ground. It's all just for show. Everything happens underneath. All that is to say, Mr. Yee, you're actually quite lucky the elevator fell down so many miles.
So, yeah, we've been underground the moment the elevator started going down, and boy does it feel like it here. This entire floor is just a big rocky series of loops that don't go anywhere. There aren't any threats, no lights, not even any music. It's a great moment to let everything start to sink in. I mean, hell, there isn't even a fuse on this floor. Wait.
I'm not picking up any readings of a small electrical charge on that floor, meaning the power plug probably isn't there. I guess it's quite lucky you happened upon a power plug in every single floor the elevator stopped on. But luck doesn't last forever, unless you're really lucky, of course.
They sure are mentioning luck a lot. Speaking of lucky, the hole that Big Boy Blue Bottoms created in the elevator leads directly to more maintenance tunnels. And of course, they are resplendent with creepy writing. Most of it is pretty nonsensical in that trapped person going mad kind of way, which makes me wonder what I'd write on a wall if I were trapped and going mad. Probably something about liking and subscribing to a YouTube channel, I don't know. But 2 of those scribblings in particular caught my eye. The second one is this bit here. For a bit of a spoiler, the first one is a touch of foreshadowing, but the other one, that one is important, and may in fact tie into the game's cosmic horror theme that I was talking about all the way back at the start of this video. But speaking of cosmic, Ick calls us with an update.
I've read up to the year 2037 on the document of all history. It says right here that in April of 2037, the human race became aware of a large meteor. The news was that in a year and 3 months, we would be hit directly by a rock 5 times the size of our planet.
First of all, at 5 times the size of our planet, that meteor is not going to hit the Earth. That meteor is going to freight train versus a jar of butter the Earth. And second, that is no longer a meteor. That is a rogue planet, which are real and, fun fact, only have about a 1 in 1 trillion chance over the next 1,000 years of entering our solar system. Now that's what I call bad luck.
Wait a minute!
Yep, this is where things actually get rolling towards the whole cosmic horror thing. Not because it involves space, but scale! And I don't mean the physical scale of we're about to be hit by a rock the size of Neptune, but a figurative scale. And here is where I can finally start talking about the initial hook of this video. Why the Upturned Inn gets cosmic horror so right. To clear things up, there is some debate if there's a difference between cosmic, eldritch, and Lovecraftian horror. Either way, cosmic and eldritch horror are tied directly into the concept of cosmicism. This is the concept that humans are largely insignificant in the grand scope of the universe. Note that this is different from nihilism, which is life is meaningless so care about nothing, aka the philosophy followed by people who don't understand philosophy, and that's not just my opinion. To paraphrase the grand poobah of nihilism himself, Fred Nietzsche, a small dose of nihilism is good, but only fools make it their entire worldview. No, cosmicism, fittingly, does not give one single flying floogie about the human condition. It is stating the empirical fact that on the scale of the cosmic, humanity, confined to our tiny blue ball, have no influence or meaning to the universe at large. It's not saying this is a good or bad thing, it's just stating this as a fact. Cosmic horror, then, is coming to realize that fact in a way that makes us really feel that insignificance. And that is exactly what this chat with Icka Baby is doing here, and it's doing it perfectly. Remember, the whole reason Ick is reading Everything Everywhere All at Once is not to figure out what happened to humanity, it's to figure out the cause of our death. But then suddenly we're hit with this curveball, that a meteor named I'll Mess with Texas is about to obliterate all of humankind, and suddenly we forget all about our own demise. This is also a great first step, as cosmic horror needs to be a slow burn. In general, humans are pretty bad at comprehending things of a very, very large scale, which is why I think Moons of Madness, a game I previously reviewed, fails at its cosmic horror. That story goes from giving us a few astronaut ghosts, a weird plant thing, and then, bam, the moons are gods, your mom is naked and wants to bang Cthulhu, humanity is fucked, take this mega nuke and blow it all up. Conversely, this is why games like Outer Wilds can dip their toes into cosmic horror without being traditional horror games. In that game, a kind of empty feeling starts creeping up on you after hopping across the system so often, leaving your home behind on another failed attempt to save the world, looking out and seeing how small these massive planets really are, and then turning your gaze to the stars and wondering what else is out there. That alone gives us a great sense of scale, but then you factor everything else in that amazing fucking game, and it really makes you feel small. And the Upturned is starting to give us that same feeling. It's hard to convey that in a fast-paced review like this, but the storm, the mysterious voice on the phone, and the unpredictable and chaotic nature of the Upturned Inn are all great initial steps that are making us feel insignificant. But in an almost hilarious twist, despite everything I've just said here, the conversation about the meteor continues in a way that I guarantee you didn't see coming.
Sir, do you think maybe that meteor is what killed you? No? Are you really, really sure? Whew! If you didn't die, that means they must have averted the crisis.
Well, fuck everything I just said, I guess. Let's go play in a trash compactor. You know, of all the games that have thrown me in a trash compactor, being this, Half-Life 1, and Poppy Playtime Part 2, which you can watch on my Let's Play channel, this one I think is my favorite. Now, I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to get rocketed up into this escape vent since there's a power outage that stops the compactor entirely, and on top of that, we get a call from the Gargler that says, but that's the end of this honestly very creepy and very depressing floor. How about a palate cleanser? Yeah, that'll do it. And hey, we even get more good news from Ick.
Just 2 months after the meteor was discovered, the human race was already working together to find a solution. With that many minds working together, they should have no trouble thinking of one.
Ah, that's been nice. Enough of that. What's next?
Sir, I hope you're doing swell. The storm sure is. I think it just tore off a wall somewhere. I feel it in the air. If I had hair, it'd be standing up. Wait, Mr. Yi, don't go in there! Let me turn on the light. There we are.
These are the little chucklers. They exist only in the dark, and as long as you have your flashlight active, they won't bite. Just one problem, though.
Heck no.
Also, according to Ick, the storm is getting worse, so you better believe the game is gonna mess with the lights. The solution to this floor involves carrying around some kind of light source, usually a lamp, around in these dark attic-like spaces. As long as you're holding the lamp, you're fine. But then we find this pedestal with a code and realize we need to go back and pick things up in the dark, which means dropping our lamp, and oh boy, I love being forced back into scary situations by my own will. Really, I do love when a game forces you to move back into an area you know has danger in it. It's fantastic. But on the final escape, we crawl into a vent and hear a strange... We exit the vent, see that Shrimp has joined us, and then realize the little chucklers are gone. It's okay, I'm sure it's fine. But Shrimp is no longer in the mood to play fetch and, hops in the elevator with us. But we get another update from Ick.
In this time of prosperity and peace, the human race came together and built an ultra-mega nuclear power plant, double the size of Australia. Their plan? To split the meteor into tiny pieces like a meatball when it gets crushed between your teeth. It says here they appropriately named this mega nuke Big Boy. Sir, I'm so proud of what humanity has become since we put all our minds together. We're really unstoppable. Do I sense woe in your voice? Sir, how could humanity fail now? They've solved world hunger, they've achieved world peace, they've reversed aging, they can fly and breathe underwater. They're doing everything right.
And this is what I love about the dialogue in this game. But now it seems that the protagonist knows something that Ick doesn't, that we don't. But talking about the floor itself, if you want to be made to feel small, yeah, do that. Sure do wonder why all these giant doors are all over the place, and why do some keep slamming when I get too close? Hate that name. Yep, hate that too. These are rib cages. They move slow, jerk to dodge your throws, can only be hurt by certain objects, and if they corner you, it's pretty much game over. Hey, remember when the first level ended with a Looney Tunes gag? Now, I could go into a long-winded rant about how these things are absolutely terrifying, but sometimes you just need to let the evidence speak for itself. Speaking of terrifying, on the next floor...
Sir, is there something in the elevator with you? Oh my, is that Shrimp? He seems to like you. Please be nice, for your own sake.
All that shrimpy foreshadowing looks like it's about to pay off, and... Yeah, it pays off. You are constantly having to feed this dog with literally anything you can find, and he only gets hungrier faster the more the level goes on. Honestly, this whole floor feels like one of those dreams where you're driving a car that's just barely in your control, and you nearly drive it into something, but you just manage to avoid it, but then there's another thing, and oh god, come on, no! I mean, just watch me here, sound effects and all. Like, sure, it's definitely not the scariest thing in the world. We're still throwing couches and radios into the mouth of a goofy dog boy, but goddamn is this effective at making you go, shit, come on, crap, no! And just trying to run for it won't work, because if he gets hungry enough... This entire floor is easily one of the most memorable in the game, and it comes right after 2 more incredibly memorable and stressful floors back to back. So when you get to the elevator, you're glad to just have a moment's rest to... Yeah, that's about what I expected. So how about while I play you footage from this level that is both somehow a break and also a chaotic mess, I'll show you some footage from my Let's Play channel. I'm simply not someone with the energy for freakouts like, hey! So if you want something more laid back...
Bad taste. It's so very Jeffrey Dahmer.
Excuse me?
How about positive?
Excuse me? What?
Is there anything
Excuse me? What the fuck are you talking about? Come on down, or watch me go on unrelated tangents like this. Wait, why are they just showing the ATP reaction? That has nothing to do with anything right now. C6H12O6 is the chemical formula for glucose. You get ATP from that. ATP is literally the energy used to fuel our bodies. Link is in the description, uploads every Wednesday and Friday. Pop over and subscribe right now, do it! But after another cordial meeting with Mr. Ballin, and then bidding him adieu with our gun that shoots couches, we get to the elevator and arrive at the second to last floor, but not before another call from Ick. And if you have any interest in playing this game, stop the review here, because this is where things really start to take a turn, but not before remembering to like and subscribe.
Ah!
Did that hurt?
It actually did. Like the motor inside.
Sir. Remember Big Boy, the mega nuke we built to splinter the meteor before it hit Earth? Ah, because you were alive back then. I keep forgetting what this is all for, to find out how you died. Big Boy was entering its finishing stages, the human race was preparing to launch, quadruple checking all the systems were ready. Then a massive solar flare hit Earth directly from the sun. It jammed all our electronics. Satellites began to plummet from the sky in droves like falling stars. A chunk of metal debris which had been floating in space for 60 years finally fell back to Earth, and it just happened to land on our mega nuclear power plant. Why no, of course not. Big Boy was protected from some falling trash. The human race isn't that dumb. Still, this caused a steam explosion in one of our nuclear plants, leading to a meltdown. However, this was quickly, expertly put under control in 15 minutes flat by thousands of professionals all working in tandem. No lives lost, no damage done. Then, at nearly the same time, an unprecedented volcanic eruption and earthquake occurred. Sir, do you think that's what killed you? Well, after that, our planet was hit by an intense, concentrated gamma ray burst from a distant star. Sir, remember what I said about luck? Good luck can't last forever, unless you're really lucky. Want to know what happens next? Big Boy explodes. The Earth was nearly cracked in two. Skies were blotted out by a poisonous photochemical smog. Giant, endless firestorms raged even across the Pacific and the Atlantic. That must be what killed you. Aha, sir, you must be pulling my legs. Both of them! Anyway, I guess this explains why no one else has visited the Upturned Inn since you walked in. I think my job at the front desk might be over. It looks like I have a countable number of pages left to read of the history of the universe. I think it's funny to hold that in my hands. It's funny.
Well, shit. You exit the elevator and the rest of the floor is largely empty. No music, no puzzles, no ick. It gives you time to let this all sink in. The randomness of it all, the misfortune, the unfairness, the eldritch horror of it all. And yes, this is eldritch horror. Or at least an aspect of it. One big problem I see with a lot of horror these days is that developers just throw tentacle monsters and nautical themes into the narrative and say, yep, that's eldritch horror right there. Even games I enjoy are guilty of this, like Still Wakes the Deep, which really only dips its toes into the ocean that is cosmic horror. Sure, it's got all the slimy, gribbly dressings of eldritch decor, but it never really explores the themes of Lovecraftian writing. Kaz never has moments where he peers into the abyss and realizes all his petty struggles on land are so petty in face of the cosmos. We never peek beyond the veil and question our reality. We never see secrets or conspiracies hidden away by those who treat with the unknown. All we get is the shape, which, to be honest, is pretty straightforward. It's a weird, corrupting flesh that turns its victims into lumpy haggis men. And again, I like the game. I just feel that labeling it as eldritch horror just because it has tentacles and the ocean is a bit disingenuous. I mean, hell, Horse Party Lovecraft himself wrote several cosmic horror stories that didn't feature any of the gribbly goodness we know him for, such as the music of Eric Zan, which Lovecraft Minecraft cited as one of his favorite works because it did not rely on giant squidmen to drive its point across. And the aspect of cosmic horror that the Upturned is most aiming for is that of the fragility and fleetingness of humanity. But what makes the Upturned so unique in that aspect is that compared to every other apocalypse story I've come across, here, we did everything right. Just think back to practically any other apocalypse movie you've seen. There's always tropes like the stubborn government who won't listen to warnings, or the meatheads who argue about the right course of action, or the arrogance of humanity causing the disaster in the first place. In all of those, when something goes wrong, there's someone to blame. But here, humanity was doing everything right. And now I think back to that graffiti we found earlier. Stories don't end like this. Because they don't. Imagine you're in the theater watching the latest apocalypse film and everything is going perfectly. Nobody's arguing, humanity has its shit together, everything's on schedule, and then we lose anyway. That's it. Earth explodes, roll credits. How weird would it feel walking out of that movie? I mean, hell, that's been the theme this whole time. Bad luck. It was the entire joke of the very first floor we visited. Granted, bad luck probably won't be the end of humanity anytime soon, but it's gotta happen sometime. Back to the game, we forge on regardless, because what do we even do with that knowledge? What can we do?
Sir, wait! I know, but you know what happens every time you find the fuse? All hell breaks loose. Or maybe nothing will break through that suspiciously cracked wall, and I won't scream, "Run!" like a squeaky toy. That would be unexpected, wouldn't it?
You know, I just thought of something we can do. But with Pajama Sam's head as severed as his chances for a new game, we finally reach our stop. Floor negative 1,434. Here we get another call from Ick with more details about the apocalypse. Disturbing details like the remaining humans being attacked by mutated hogs, a second meteor splitting the Earth even more apart, with one of the chunks flying into the sun at roughly 560 million miles per hour. And after all of that, we finally get the story of our death.
I was going to read about how you died on my own, but I want to read it with you. Well, it says the Earth was split into 3 pieces, one of which flew straight into the sun within about 10 minutes. What about that? Mr. Yi, before you died, did you feel your skin melting off your bones like a snowman? A snowman with bones? Then there was only a handful of the human race left alive. Ah, it says your name here again. There you are, one of 9 humans left alive. You held up for a whole year alone, and then... then you died. Do you want me to tell you? No, none of those. It was spontaneous combustion. While you slept, you caught on fire at the whim of chemistry and chance. But hey, on the bright side, you didn't do anything wrong. Wait, does that make it better?
Yeah, spontaneous combustion, random chance. That's it, that's how we died. And especially poignant are Ick's words here. You didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, life is chaotic. Sometimes you can do everything right and still fail. But we're nearly there. The doors open, we walk down a featureless hall, spot our room, and for once, open the door like an actual human. Which I do find some small irony in, because if we had just committed second-degree door slaughter like in every other case, then this wouldn't have happened. When it rains, it pours, huh? And how's that for horror, huh? Reframing the entirety of the hotel, and not just in some vague lore way, but as in, hey, wasn't it funny how every single enemy in this game had a real name? Wasn't it funny? Mr. Sob also demonstrates that he is very aware of the cosmic themes of chance and chaos that have played into this entire narrative. And, in an interesting twist, he is against that kind of random chance, that same kind of pure bad luck that saw the end of humanity. And I think that's the better choice. Making the antagonist a personification of chaos would just give us someone to point fingers at, when the whole point of this game is that sometimes shit just goes wrong, and someday it's going to go very, very wrong, and there's nothing we can do about it. And just FYI, this Mario Party-ass minigame here isn't scripted. You can die here. I didn't because I'm a pro MLGBT gamer, but I also don't know how I survived this. There isn't an obvious pattern, and yes, I figured that is entirely on purpose have you not been paying attention. But survive long enough and you'll be rewarded with... And with the truth revealed, what other option do we have then to leave and get our ending? And I feel I don't really need to say that much about the ending, so let's just have it.
Sir, is that you? Are you alive? Sir, I'm sorry. I tried to tell you about Mr. Sob, but I waited too long and we lost connection. I pretended the Upturned Inn was a normal hotel after he turned it into some kind of death trap. I haven't been outside in the afterlife for some 40 years. Now I feel like a kid who ran outside to see the fireworks. I finally decided I'd rather wander out here than be in that rotten building. When I thought we would never speak again, sir, that was the last straw. Anyway, I finished reading the document of all history. I read about the last group of humans on that sliver of Earth. 3 young scientists huddled together in a seed vault built deep within a mountain. They stayed alive for a few weeks, and then 2 of them got into an argument over who had dibs on a bag of chips, which spiraled into murder. They both died. Oh, and what about the last human alive? She tripped and hit her head. Not how I thought the human race would go out, but I'm not sure what I expected. I guess that's it then. We know how you, I, and the human race all came to an end. It seems to me like the curtain's closing. What with the end of all human life on Earth and this sudden raging storm in the afterlife. Like this is the end of time. The human race did all it could, and look what it got. A bad luck sundae with a nasty cherry on top. Except instead of vanilla ice cream, it's probably just a heap of mayonnaise or shaving cream. You're asking me? I don't think there's anyone to blame for it. Sometimes it rains and pours. But what do we do now that we've lost it all? Ah, the forest has gotten quiet where I am. I feel like I should whisper. Oh, good heavens. My shadow just ran away and jumped into the bushes. Silly thing. And I feel something big approaching this way. I don't think there's any use running or hiding. I've wasted my whole life hiding. Maybe I'll just say hello. Sorry, sir, I might have to put you on hold. I think there's not much time left. Maybe there's something we don't know about. Something deeper than the Upturned. Maybe it's been barreling towards us from the beginning. When I was alive, when I was scared of the dark at night, I would watch the water heater that stood outside my bedroom door. It was towering and immovable, like a water heater. I would listen to it gurgling and humming as my heart beat loud in my ears, and I'd pretend it was a train chugging really fast. A train that didn't need a track, bulldozing through the trees and mountains. Well, anyway, the forest sounds a lot like my room right now. Maybe it's doing that on purpose. Oh, that's even brighter than my collection of strobe lights. Sorry, sir, our lines are busy at the moment. I think I'm gonna have to put you on hold. Until next time?
If you're looking for my explanation of what Mr. Sob, the Storm, the Horse and Rider, and the ending in general all represents, I don't have one, because there isn't one. This isn't a game like Poppy Playtime that teases its lore and goes, "Tee-hee, bet you can't figure out this one." This game is more earnest than that. It's trying to tell a story, a real story. And sometimes, the best stories leave things up to the reader's interpretation. So you could absolutely say that Mr. Sob was death itself, while the Storm was the end of everything, including him. He sure seemed afraid of it. He was frustrated that he couldn't give the inhabitants of the inn a proper end, and it was Lovecraft himself who wrote, "And with strange eons, even death may die." Or perhaps it's the Horse and Rider who are the end of everything. Or perhaps he was the choice to move on and accept death, while those who remain within the inn are the ones who refuse to accept the finality of our mortal nature. And those are just possible interpretations. I certainly have my opinions of what it all means, but it's just that, an opinion, an interpretation. And that's another reason why I love cosmic horror and why the Upturned is cosmic horror. It's very common and good practice for horror stories to leave us with material questions like, what was that monster? Or did the evil boss know what was down there? But cosmic horror leaves so much more to be interpreted. Questions we don't have answers to, not because it's never explained, but because we can't know the answer. And all of that is, again, why I say the Upturned Inn is a fantastic example of what eldritch horror can be. Sure, I definitely love the themes of the ocean and unknowable sea monsters, and I would absolutely find the game scarier if those were present, but you need more than just the cosmetics. Otherwise, you could call the creature from the Black Lagoon eldritch, and I don't think a movie with the tagline, "Every man his mortal enemy and woman's beauty his prey," is aiming for introspection on the philosophical implications of humanity's fleeting existence. Or maybe it does, I haven't watched it, prove me wrong. But again, take the example of Still Wakes the Deep. While a great game, it doesn't really touch on any of the classic themes of cosmic horror. Even if I'm being very generous and I bring up that one phone call where Kaz hallucinates the shape taking over the world, Still Wakes is a far more introspective tale, which it does a great job of, whereas the Upturned, and cosmic horror in general, is far more extrospective, which, yes, is a word. And now I feel like I should remind you all that the Upturned Inn was able to tell this weirdly chilling tale while being one of the silliest horror games I've ever played. From the janky and comedically timed animations, dialogue like this.
You know, I was a collector of many things on Earth. Well, did you know that I used to keep a pristine collection of bowls of creamy potato soup that hadn't been finished? 17.
And just a ton of jokes and gags that I wasn't able to fit into this review. I don't think I've ever laughed this hard at a horror game, much less a horror game that made me go... I cannot overstate how unique this game is, and I really recommend you give it a try for yourself, especially if you're somewhat squeamish on horror. Like, I can't sit here and pretend it's the scariest game I've played, though it probably is one of the scariest I've reviewed on this channel, which is kind of depressing. But seriously, it's only $10 on Steam and is legitimately just a good time even if you don't overanalyze its characters and story like I tend to do, because it's also just a really solid puzzle platformer. So pick it up, or don't. I'm not your dad. Yet.